December 2nd, 1805. The Pratzen Heights. 27,000 men lie dead or dying in the snow. Some freeze to their wounds before they can bleed out completely. Others drown in half-frozen ponds where broken ice swallows entire columns of Russian infantry retreating in panic. The Austrian and Russian armies are not merely defeated. They are shattered, humiliated, rendered tactically incoherent within the space of 9 hours. Napoleon Bonaparte stands among the carnage and recognizes something profound. Overwhelming force applied with genius can break nations faster than any treaty or negotiation. What he does not recognize, what he cannot see through the smoke and triumph, is that this moment has taught him the wrong lesson. Austerlitz does not prove that dominance is sustainable. It proves only that dominance is possible. For the next 10 years, Napoleon will pursue this possibility until it consumes him, his armies, and the empire he carved from conquest. The battle enters history as the perfect victory. Outnumbered and facing the combined might of Russia and Austria, Napoleon baits his enemies into attacking what appears to be a weak French position. He deliberately weakens his right flank, making it appear vulnerable. The Allied commanders, confident in their numerical advantage, take the bait. They descend from the Pratzen Heights to encircle and destroy what they believe is a broken army. Then Napoleon strikes. French forces surge up the abandoned heights, splitting the Allied army in two. Confusion becomes panic. Panic becomes rout. The Tsar of Russia watches his men die in their thousands. The Holy Roman Empire effectively ends that day, though its formal dissolution waits another 8 months. Austria sues for peace within weeks. Prussia, watching from the sidelines, learns only one lesson. Napoleon cannot be beaten in open battle. Europe absorbs this lesson completely. Victory contains its own poison. Napoleon does not emerge from Austerlitz believing in the limits of military power. He emerges believing in its infinity. The battle proves to him that superior tactics and battlefield genius can overcome any numerical disadvantage, any coalition, any combination of enemies. It teaches him that waiting is weakness, that negotiation is surrender by another name, that the proper response to threat is not diplomacy but annihilation. Austerlitz becomes the template. Every subsequent conflict is measured against it. Every campaign seeks to recreate it. Nothing will ever be as clean as decisive, as perfectly executed as Austerlitz. So Napoleon keeps fighting, keeps marching, keeps demanding one more victory that will finally secure what the last one could not. The first consequence is diplomatic. Before Austerlitz, Napoleon maintained the pretense of operating within European norms. He negotiated, he formed alliances. He positioned France as a revolutionary power that could coexist with monarchies when necessary. After Austerlitz, this pretense evaporates. Why negotiate when you can dictate? Why seek allies when you can create vassals? Within months, Napoleon redraws the map of Europe according to his vision alone. He creates the Confederation of the Rhine, dissolving the Holy Roman Empire and binding German states to France. He places his brothers on thrones in Holland, Westphalia, Spain, and Naples. He does not ask. He does not consult. He commands. Europe bends or breaks. Those who bend receive French administrators. French legal codes, French military obligations. Those who break are invaded. There is no third option. The approach succeeds brilliantly in expanding French power, but it eliminates stability. Every nation becomes either subject or enemy. Every territory absorbed creates new borders to defend new populations, to suppress new armies to feed. Napoleon's legitimacy now rests on military dominance rather than diplomatic consensus. He cannot afford to appear weak. Every challenge must be met with force. Every slight must be answered with invasion. Austerlitz does not end the wars, it ensures they will never end. The second consequence is military. The Grande Armée in 1805 numbers roughly 200,000 men. By 1812, Napoleon marches on Russia with over 600,000. This growth is not sustainable expansion, it is compulsion. Each territory provides conscripts. Each vassal state provides regiments. The army grows because the empire grows, and the empire grows because the army conquers. Armies require food, horses, weapons, uniforms, wagons, and endless replacement soldiers lost to disease, desertion, and death. France cannot sustain this. No nation can. Napoleon's solution is to make war feed war. Conquered territories pay indemnities. Occupied cities provide supplies. Allied states contribute troops. The system functions only while conquest continues. The moment expansion stops, the economic structure collapses. Napoleon understands this, yet Austerlitz convinces him expansion never needs to stop. The third consequence is psychological. Napoleon's generals, marshals, and administrators learn the same lesson. Decisive battle solves problems. Hesitation creates them. The French military becomes addicted to offense. When faced with uncertainty, they attack. When faced with complexity, they simplify through violence. This works against conventional armies. It fails against guerrilla resistance in Spain, where there is no decisive battle. It fails catastrophically in Russia, where space winter and retreat become weapons. By then, the French army cannot adapt. It has perfected decisive engagement and forgotten endurance. The trap is simple. Austerlitz proves Napoleon is the greatest battlefield commander of his generation. It does not prove battlefield genius can replace statecraft economics or governance. Napoleon confuses the two. He believes military solutions are the only solutions. Politics becomes an extension of warfare rather than the reverse. Because Austerlitz was perfect, he spends his career trying to recreate it. He cannot accept smaller victories. He cannot accept compromise. Everything must be total. The wars continue. Austria is defeated again in 1809, but Wagram is costly and indecisive. Prussia is crushed in 1806, yet resistance spreads. Spain becomes a permanent wound, draining tens of thousands of troops fighting an enemy that refuses decisive battle. Napoleon keeps winning engagements. Peace never follows. Russia becomes inevitable. The Tsar refuses to enforce the continental system. Napoleon cannot negotiate. He can only punish. In 1812, he assembles the largest army Europe has ever seen and marches east, convinced one more Austerlitz will end everything. Russia retreats and burns its cities. There is no battle. There is no victory. There is only distance, winter hunger, and collapse. Of 600,000 men, fewer than 100,000 return. The myth of invincibility dies in the snow. Europe senses weakness. Nations rise again, forming the Sixth Coalition. Napoleon fights brilliantly in 1813, winning battles but lacking reserves. His armies are filled with boys and old men. He wins but cannot replace losses. At Leipzig, he is overwhelmed not by genius but by attrition. The coalition learns the truth. You do not beat Napoleon in one battle. You outlast him. You force him to fight everywhere at once until exhaustion replaces dominance. Napoleon abdicates in April 1814. He is exiled to Elba. He returns for the 100 Days and fights at Waterloo. He loses not because his tactics fail, but because belief in him is gone. His enemies stand firm. Reinforcements arrive. His army dissolves. He is exiled again to St. Helena, where he spends his final years defending every decision. He never admits the truth. Austerlitz was the beginning of his end. The lesson endures. Decisive victory is intoxicating. It convinces victors that force answers everything, that dominance replaces diplomacy. Austerlitz gave Napoleon territory, prestige, and confirmation of genius. It also locked him into endless war. Each victory demanded another. Each conquest created new enemies. Because he measured success by total victory, anything less felt like failure. He could not stop marching. The boots never stop after Austerlitz. They march into Prussia, Spain, and Russia. They march until the men are dead, captured, or broken. They march because Napoleon learned that genius can shatter armies. He never learned that shattering armies does not build peace. Austerlitz was perfect. Perfect victories pursued without restraint become madness. The empire falls. History remembers Austerlitz not as secure dominance, but as the trap that made dominance mandatory and compromise impossible. Napoleon dies in exile, dictating justifications to visitors. Europe listens no longer. New systems emerge to prevent any single power from dominating again. The Congress of Vienna redraws the map. This time, the map holds. What remains is the sound. Boots in snow, artillery across frozen fields. men screaming in many languages, the sound of perfect victory that teaches the wrong lesson. That makes power seem infinite. That convinces the powerful they can never stop. Austerlitz is perfect, and it destroys everything.